the Great St. James Gingerbread Jamboree, starring St. Peter, St. Gregory, St. Giannamola, St. Catherine, St. Benedict, St. John Paul II, St. Padre Pio, St. Teresa, the Great St. James Gingerbread Jamboree.
All right, let's start in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to all come together and start off this brand new tradition at St. James, the Gingerbread Jamboree. Holy Spirit, come. Holy Spirit, come. Help be with all of our decorators, that they can decorate to the best of their abilities, and that we can glorify you through it all. We say this through our mother. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
All right. Coach Snell and Beatrice Wiley. Coach Snell, what can we expect to see in our competition today?
All right, the rules are really simple. Each team gets 60 minutes to build the best possible gingerbread display. Each team gets the exact same supplies so they can build their set.
And that's right, Snell, and we'll have it all covered for you here on the Thunder Broadcasting Network. The teams will start their timers in 3, 2, 1, begin. All right, and the teams are uncovering right now, seeing their supplies for the first time. This is the first time all these teams are seeing their supplies right now, so they have 60 minutes to figure out how they want to build the best possible gingerbread set. Like Coach Snell just said, every team's got the same supplies here. Got to think, first time we're doing this competition, we'll probably see a lot of different strategies here early on.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, they'll tell you on there.
It looks like Teresa's already all the way unpacked over there. Looks like teams are getting excited, seeing what's all in their boxes. I'm really interested to see how they use all of the sources that Mrs. Walters gave them.
Do you want me to go get some?
The cool thing about this setup is they had time to think about this beforehand, but they didn't have the supplies to plan it beforehand. So it'll be interesting to me to see who can take the idea that they had in their brain and actually make it into a real thing. So it's going to be fun to see.
So complicated.
Absolutely, it's going to be an interesting combination, like you kind of alluded to. There's going to be a lot of planning, but also a lot of creativity kind of in the moment. You see JP2 right now on your screen. They're trying to figure out what they're trying to do. These first few minutes, probably you're going to see a lot of just trying to figure out what your supplies are right now, trying to figure out what you're working with, and then hopefully probably try to make a plan and try to go from there. That's what I'm guessing these teams are probably going to try to start out with these first few minutes here.
You're starting to see some of the teamwork coming into play already. You start to see people divvying out jobs, who's going to do what, and separating the tasks. See who can divide and conquer well. So an hour seems like a really long time, but when that time is ticking, the lights are on, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, now let's send it over to Hank Schreiner, our reporter for today.
Brenton Banker, could you pause for an interview, please? So the competition obviously just kicked off. What are you seeing in these early stages of the competition?
You know, I'm feeling really confident in our team. We're very organized. We know what to do, and I think we can get it done.
Okay.
Are you looking for a victory tonight?
I'm looking for a big win. Padre Pio's in last place, so we got to get some points on the board.
I figured. This is a very important challenge for you guys. Back to you guys at the booth.
All right, thank you, Hank. Good interview there. Now, just about 1 minute in here, still trying to figure out a lot of these teams, trying to figure out what they're trying to do. Like Coach Snell just said, teamwork's going to be a big part of this early on. 8 people for 1 hour of work here, trying to make the best gingerbread set possible here today.
Some very interesting team makeups. When thinking about a team, in this scenario, you definitely need some creativity. You need some people who can make stuff happen with their hands. And then you also need some competitive people in the group as well. Like this is a competition. We're trying to win. There's big points on the line. And it's also the first one. So a little bit extra bragging rights for being the first winners of any competition that happens.
Yeah, I agree. And looking at the teams, there seems to be a lot of sibling duos. I'm really interested to see how that turns out, to see if the chemistry there is like really good or if it gets into a little bickering fight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that really could be beneficial, having people that work together before maybe in a situation like this, but that also could be a problem as well.
Okay, well,
like Coach Snell was saying, lots of different team makeups here, and it's important early on trying to figure out, who's kind of going to be the leader of your group and who's going to be the ones doing whatever tasks. You don't really want to be getting too far into this competition trying to figure that sort of stuff out. So these first few minutes, you see Gregory here, one of our many communities here today. They're going to be trying to figure out early on how they want to divvy those responsibilities up. All right, here you can see pictured our Gregory team for today. Coach Snell next to me, the Dean of Gregory. What do you like about this team that we got here on Gregory, Snell?
Well, you guys mentioned the siblings being involved there. We've got Henry and Vivian Overlease. I think that having those two siblings together, they've worked together and they work together pretty well. Interestingly, Henry's our only boy in our group. There's a lot more females in here than there are males, which is okay. But I think Henry's super creative and he's really, really competitive, so that's going to help. Also, just looking at the makeup of our team, we've got some really, really competitive people in that group. The number of people who were volunteering in Gregory was awesome, and we had to dwindle it down to just a few. Obviously, with the maximum of only having 8 people, we could only have 8. But I think we picked the right 8, and I think they're gonna do really well today.
Snell, did you have any difficulty picking your people? Was it hard to pick just one from each house?
Some houses had 3 or 4 people that were wanting to volunteer, and some houses only had 1, so that made it a little bit easy. Having the flex spots was really key, I think. Just figuring out who we could put in that flex spot, who was really creative, and also who had some experience in building gingerbread houses. That's a big deal too. I think the experience in building it is a big deal. Like a lot of people can cook, but if you've never done this specifically, then you're kind of going in the dark with this. So you need some people who know what they're doing.
All right, now let's send it over to Hank, having a conversation with one of the members of Gregory Community.
I'm here with Henry Overlease. Earlier talked about the sibling duo. What do you think of Vivian in your group?
I think she could be a really valuable asset to our team. Like we just really connect on a deeper level than like the rest of the team. And so I think we could like use that to our advantage.
Interesting.
Take home the win for Gregory.
Great. What would you say is going to be your secret weapon in this competition? What's going to differentiate your gingerbread house from others?
I think our team just overall has like a really creative idea, and I think it's going to like come together really nicely and take us home. We're just different than the other teams,
Great. Thank you for your time. Back to you guys.
All right, welcome back to the first ever Great St. James Gingerbread Jamboree. We just had a quick segment there on the Gregory community. Looks like they're off to a good start. Seeing many of the different communities work here right now throughout the building.
It's interesting to see the different techniques that the communities are taking. Some communities are definitely focusing more on building their gingerbread house initially, and then others, it seems, are taking a little bit more time to build it. JP2 over here looks like they're not too far along in their building, so I'm interested to see how long that'll take and what that'll do for them later in the competition.
I'm waiting to see the argument start, where someone's going to disagree with someone's idea. Sometimes that's where the best ideas come out, when we can talk through those situations, 2 different ideas, and figure out which one makes the most sense, and also which one you can get done in an hour.
Absolutely. We haven't really seen any of these communities, just 5 minutes or so in here. Nobody's really failed yet. And once, things start breaking, cracks start happening in the gingerbread, whatever that may be, I think that's when you might see some great ideas come out of that. You also might see some teams fall apart. So once we get to that place, that's when things, I think, really are going to explode. But right now, kind of just in that preparation stage, like you were saying, Beatrice, a lot of different strategies we're seeing right now. What do you think is kind of like the ideal strategy here? Now let's send it over to Hank with a quick interview with member Teresa.
I'm here with Mila Prendergast of St. Teresa Community. What are some of the things that you're seeing early on in this competition?
We're kind of all stressed trying to figure out what we're going to do with our limited amount of ingredients, but we're doing very good, kind of like separating and trying to figure out like how to compartmentalize and go from there.
Would you say you're going for the divide and conquer technique?
For sure, yes.
Boogity, 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 boys. Let's go racing.
All right, thank you, Hank, as we're sending it back up to the booth here. Just had a quick conversation with a member of Teresa Community. Looks like Teresa is off to a quick start here. Now we're going to be taking a quick look at Peter Community momentarily here.
And Will, to answer your question on what the ideal technique is, I would honestly say I think it's probably the best idea to get a good foundation of your gingerbread house first, since this is really about the decorations and decorating it. I think it would just be nice to have your house built so that you can see what you want, what you don't want, and that you have a little bit more time to let that creative spark build up and to see what else you can do towards the end.
Okay, teamwork.
Yeah, absolutely. That foundation really huge. You're seeing that community right there, building it, getting that foundation started early on. You see the piece of wood there, 2 by 3 foot piece of wood. That's what every community is going to have all of their pieces put on by the end of this. So these communities right now working on multiple tables, but in the end they're going to have to fit everything they want for their gingerbread onto that 2 by 3 piece of wood there.
In my opinion, and I'm not a judge, but everyone's seen a gingerbread house, right? And so you've got to make an incredible gingerbread house if you're just going with standard gingerbread house. Now, where I think you could kind of go differently is you could get into some creativity, and you could do some things that are just not what you would normally see on a gingerbread house, and those kinds of things. Maybe it's specific to St. James, maybe it's specific to your community, and those kinds of things. Those are the things that I think will give people a little level up above others when everyone's making a gingerbread house and everybody's got the same ingredients and the same tools. And so you don't want yours to look like everyone else's. You want yours to stand out in some way. And so figuring out how you can make yours stand out, I think, will be a big deal.
All right, we're back to Peter's Community now, looking at Peter's Community and all girl except for Mr. Evan Kennedy in there for Peter. What are we seeing in their community with that group there?
I see a lot of different varieties of people. I know quite a few of these people in Peter Community. I know Annie Conklin. I think she's probably one of the only community captains who joined, but I think that's a really good move on her part because I know her. She has a very creative mind, and she's a very good baker as well. So I think that's definitely a strength that they have there. And also being a senior leader, I think she would be very good at kind of helping direct people to the right areas. And I think, yeah, just a lot of these people are great. I think Harper Paul's a good freshman in there. She seems to have a lot of creativity, and yeah.
All right, now let's send it over to Hank for a quick interview.
I'm here at Peter Community with Grace. What are your thoughts about this pretzel shingling technique that I'm seeing?
I think it's a really good idea. You can use it as like roof tiles, and it just kind of ties the house and the roof all together.
That seems to make a lot of sense to me. Recently, it was officialized by the judges that you are allowed the use of hot glue to secure items. And personally, I was looking forward to eating these gingerbread houses. Doesn't look like that's going to happen anymore. Has that been very helpful for your building?
Yeah, hot glue is definitely like going to tie the whole thing together and just kind of like make the structure all secure. Because if we used icing, it could fall apart so much easier.
That could be disastrous. Back to you guys in the booth.
All right, thank you, Hank. You know, you just referenced there Beatrice Annie, the only senior in the community of Peter that's doing this right now. How much do you think, do you think in a competition like this, first time we've ever done the great St. James Gingerbread Jamboree here, do you think having more seniors, more older upperclassmen is a benefit, or do you think it doesn't really matter in this sort of context, this being obviously the first time we're doing this competition here?
Yeah, I think for the first time, this could be maybe a weakness, but at the same time, I think for the years to come, it's honestly a great idea because you can always send these decorators back, these bakers back, and they know the rules of the competition, they know the lay of the land, they know what went poorly the year before, and then what they can improve on this year. So honestly, I think that's a really good strategy that Peter went with, but I'm interested to see how it all comes together this year. I think everyone that they chose is able to handle their part on this team. So I think, honestly, in the years to come, it's definitely a perk.
Absolutely. As we're looking at Catherine community now, Catherine over to our left, looks like they have their whole gingerbread structure up right now, trying to get some of the, looks like frosting made over there, but looks like they're off to a nice start with their community so far.
Interesting with Catherine, you've got kind of everybody all together, where some of the other communities you see people split to different tables and things like that. You kind of see everybody all together with just one little small group there working on the gingerbread house. So I'm interested to see what that large group is putting together, what ideas they're coming up with, and how they can execute.
Yeah, I did notice that as well. I think that's pretty interesting, but I honestly think that could be really a strong strategy to make sure that everyone's on the same page as well with where the decorations are going. And I do think it's a really good idea to only have about 2 people on the gingerbread as well, because the gingerbread house itself, because when you get too many people in that kind of area, it can become really stressful. So I honestly like the way that Catherine is going with this.
Absolutely. Now let's send it over to Hank with a quick interview with a member of Catherine community.
I'm here with Alex Goff of Catherine Community. Alex, obviously, you've just entered the transfer portal and landed here in Catherine Community. Are they paying you NIL?
Well, I'm not really at liberty to discuss that, but I can tell you that it's a great program, and I am loving to be here.
That's great. Would you say that the culture here at Catherine is one of a championship squad?
Well, our culture, it is what it is. It's improving. It's definitely improving.
That's great to hear. Back to you guys in the booth.
Wait, what's the issue?
All right. Thank you there, Hank, for that quick interview. Now we're still looking at the Catherine community right now. Like Beatrice was saying, looks like they're all working together kind of at one table right now. Looks like they're trying to move that frosting that they're making over there over to the gingerbread station. So a lot of people around that one table right now. It's a different sort of strategy from what we've seen from a lot of these teams, but I think this is a sort of competition trying to be a little different, might pay off in the long run.
You can also see some conversations happening over there. I'm not sure if everyone else can see it, but I can see them going back and forth just a little bit, just trying to figure out exactly where they want to take their vision and what they want this whole thing to look like. And I think that so far it looks like they're doing a really good job of getting everybody on the same page. And that probably helps with having everybody right there at the same table as they work through whatever they're going to do here.
Yeah, it seems that they're trying to discuss what area maybe they want their gingerbread house to be in, because I think that's a really important factor of, like, how do we want to decorate this? Do we want our gingerbread house to be in the middle and we decorate around, or farther to the side so that we can have more, like, landscape type of decorations? So I think there might be a little bit of back and forth about that right over there, but overall I think that they've settled that dispute and they're about to get started.
Absolutely. That's something, I think that's an area you can see a lot of differentiation between teams as kind of where you're going to place that gingerbread. You're seeing Benedict getting theirs started there. A little bit of a different strategy with them. Looks like they're taking parts of the pretzel pieces and putting it on the gingerbread house. So that's a different way to build a gingerbread house like Snell was talking about earlier. That's something that really could be a big advantage or detriment to a team if you're trying to build it in a different way.
That's a real creative group over there, and we might be seeing our first gingerbread log cabin. I'm not sure exactly if that's the route they're going, but it looks like that's where they're headed. And if so, it's something that would, like you said, it would be different than what everyone else is doing. And if they do a good job on it, it could really make them stand out. I know that's a really, really creative group, and so yeah, I bet they're going to come up with some great ideas, and I'm interested to see how their decorations look around whatever they do with their house structure.
Do we want another one? Yeah, I'll try and get you one right now. Can I?
Yeah, a lot of these people on this list, I know pretty well. It seems to be pretty senior heavy, though. There is definitely a lot of seniors, but we do also have our first sibling duo on this. We have the Kern sisters. So I'm really excited to see the way that their dynamic progresses throughout this whole entire competition, and to see if that becomes one of the best strengths or one of the weaknesses on the team.
Come on like this side.
Absolutely. Like you were saying, 4 seniors on that community team right there, a little bit different. We're seeing them spread out a little bit as well as they're trying to do their jobs, using all 3 of the tables they have available to them to their advantage right now. Everybody kind of doing their own tasks. Now let's send it over to Hank for a quick interview.
I'm here at Benedict Community with community captains
Max Frequette, Brogan Jaworski.
As we are looking at this Benedict gingerbread factory, what are you thinking about their progress?
You know, they're doing good. They're doing good. They have all my favorite food groups, too. Candy, candy cane, candy corn, and syrup.
That makes sense, buddy. What have you done in preparation for this competition, preparing them, getting them trained?
Well, I've been looking for my dad. I think he's in New York. I don't know where, though.
I heard he's on the naughty list.
Take that back.
That's what Santa told me.
Hey. Where is Santa?
10 a.m. See you back in the booth.
All right, thank you, Hank. We got about 42 minutes on the clock here. That means 18 minutes down, 42 to go. So almost a third of the way through the competition here. You see all these teams' gingerbread starting to take shape a little bit. Right now, we're looking at Benedict again, looking like they're trying to do that sort of log cabin feel, a little bit different from the other teams we've looked at so far.
Yeah, I do definitely think that's a different strategy, but I think it's a great one at the same time. I think there's a lot of creative freedom with that, and I think it just makes it unique from all the other ones that we've seen so far.
One of the things about the Benedict group, we know they're a couple of famous bakers over there in that group with Aaron Mead and Tegan Sullivan. They've made some incredible creations baking, but there's no cooking in this one. So it's just creating a creation and seeing that whole vision in your mind come out to fruition on that little piece of plywood. And so I'm interested to see how they create and what they're able to put together without being able to go put something in the oven here. And we don't even taste it. So I don't know how much of an advantage that is, but you know they have some experience in the kitchen.
All right, now we're looking at the Pio community right now, Padre Pio. What are we seeing from this group, guys?
And as I look at Pio,
we're seeing a lot of good things. I feel like it's pretty split half and half between seniors and underclassmen, which I think is a great thing. Definitely a lot more men on this team. Really only 2, but the typical amount is really 1 that we've seen so far. So I'm curious to see how that plays into this competition. They seem to be hard at work, utilizing all 3 tables, which is, I think, a really good thing. And everyone seems to have their job, what they're doing, and they seem to be very organized over there.
They're the first group that I've seen that built their structure of their gingerbread house off of the plywood and then brought it over to the plywood. And so I want to see how that holds up and how that does, if it makes any difference at all. But it looks like they've got it on the plywood now. They are also in the kind of divide and conquer camp where they've got the different tables going. And so everybody's working on different tasks and seeing how it all comes together in the end.
Yeah, they look really organized over there. You see lots of the lollipops. They're trying to put those in the gingerbread house. That's something we haven't seen from any of the other groups, but gives a different sort of feel. Kind of looks like the house from Up almost with the balloons on top. Now let's send it down to Hank for a quick interview with a member of Padre Pio.
As you were saying, I'm down here close, and I can confirm that it looks like Up, which is a very interesting idea. Original and creative. I very much like it. I'm loving the leadership out of Isabel Keneally here, and this team looks like it's meshing very well. Back to you guys.
All right, so you see Pio hard at work right now over there. Looks like they were just finishing up the first part of their gingerbread structure on that piece of plywood over there.
You know what? Hats off to Mrs. Walters and Mr. Joshi. These kits of stuff to build, it's incredible. They've got a lot of stuff in there. It's not some skimpy little box. And so they've got plenty to work with there. And you're able to see some of their creative juices flowing as you see. If you look around at all the different tables, you see a little bit different idea at each one of them. So that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. That's something, the first time we're doing this competition, obviously, I think we're going to see a lot of creativity, a lot of different ideas because we don't really know what works and what doesn't work yet. So I think lots of different ideas being tried out right now that could be really good for some communities, could be really bad for other communities as well. You see Pio hard at work right there.
What do you have to say?
Yeah, I'm really interested to know what is not in the box that communities really wish that they had, or like what they didn't think would make this process a lot easier that they don't have, that they have to improvise for. But I see a lot of improvisations being made. I think it's really cool that a lot of communities are making like a fondant out of the powdered sugar, which I wouldn't really have thought to do. So I think communities definitely are able to make do with what they got, and I think that's really cool.
All right, now we're looking at Mola community. You're seeing them decorating the outside of the gingerbread structure right now using some candies and frosting. We haven't seen many communities decorate the gingerbread before they put it together, so that's a different strategy as we're looking at the Giannamola team right now. All-women team, and looks like a good group for sure.
Yeah, really strong group over there. A lot of these girls have participated in a lot of different things, but this is one of those things that, like Beatrice said, this is new, and so you don't really know who is really strong in this. You don't really know this is going to be their strength, and they're going to be able to help your team out a lot. You just hope that the crew that you put together is a crew that can all work together and stay on the same page and, make the best creation possible. And this looks like a really good group. Giannamola's group looks really strong.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Now let's send it over to Hank Schreiner.
I'm here with Genevieve of Mola Community. As Snell said earlier in the booth, this box had a lot of great stuff in it. What do you have to say, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we were able to get most of what we need, and we've been able to adapt to the unexpected stuff, like with the Swedish fish. So I think we've been able to adapt.
Right. The resourcefulness is key in this competition. Finding something that sets your gingerbread house apart from the others. What do you think that could be for Giannamola?
Well, definitely with our North Pole theme. I know a lot of people are doing kind of out-of-the-box things, but I think ours will be able to encompass, the traditionalness of Christmas and really just, bring Christmas to the communities.
That's great. I look forward to seeing it. Back to you guys in the booth.
All right. Thank you, Hank. We're sending it back up here to the booth. We're looking at Giannamola Community right now as they are building their gingerbread.
I do find it really interesting the technique that they took where they're decorating the pieces before putting it together. I think that's definitely unique from a lot of the other communities, but I do think that that's honestly smart, letting the frosting dry so that it doesn't drip down too much. I think there's a lot of good things about that.
Yeah, one of the best things about this whole thing is we get to kind of get a bird's eye view here and see what works, what doesn't work, what strategies everyone's using, where they're kind of in their own little bubble right now, and they're working and they're only concerned with their own, and we get to see kind of all the ideas, and we get to see as all the different methods that people are using to make their creation.
Yeah, and you're seeing right there, looks like the Polar Express theme that's written out in the frosting, the words Polar Express right there. So that's one of the many themes we're probably going to see today. I think a lot of different communities are going to try to use different sort of themes to kind of set theirs apart, and it looks like Mola's doing a Polar Express theme. That could be a fun way to kind of distinguish their gingerbread set.
Yeah, I do agree. And it looks like they were going kind of with the train, and I think that could definitely add a lot of dimension to the board, since it's a really big board and not a huge gingerbread house. So there's a lot that you can do with that much room.
B, you mentioned earlier about them using the food coloring and the powdered sugar, and you can make some paint out of it. There's a lot of different things that can happen there, and you can see all the creative juices flowing in the room here. There's a buzz in here. It'd be cool if everyone was able to be in here and everyone was able to see it like a studio audience, but fortunately for us, we've got an amazing Thunder broadcast group who is able to broadcast this for everyone, and we'll be able to go back and hopefully we can watch this back as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think watching it back could be huge in future years as well, kind of seeing the different strategies that maybe are working and seeing how different groups are putting stuff together. So you're seeing Mola right now using the cotton candy. We haven't seen many communities use the cotton candy so far. That's something you got to think probably gets used later on once the frosting has been applied to the gingerbread, but that's a different way of distinguishing yourself, again, using that cotton candy on the roof. That's a unique way right there to use that cotton candy, which I think probably is one of the more difficult items to use that the communities were given.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, it's actually Teresa who specifically requested cotton candy, so I'm really interested to see the way that Teresa uses that, since they clearly had an idea with what to do with it. So I'm just really excited to see how all of this works and how it all goes out. And I'm wondering, because every single community has access to a microwave, so I'm really interested to see if anyone takes advantage of that and what they end up doing with it.
So we're seeing the JP2 community right now. They looks like they're painting their board right now. That's a different sort of strategy from what we've seen as you see the team for JP2 on your screen there. What are we seeing with that team?
They're kind of in the divide and conquer group as well. They have got different people going. It looks like they're going about 2 by 2 on the tasks, and so 2 people are working on each one of the different tasks. First group that we've seen that, like you said, has painted the board, so I'm excited to see what they do with that. This is a strong group as well. Natalie Kearney, our pie baking champion, back-to-back years. So we know she's got some skills when it comes to putting some things together, and we know she's creative as far as that goes. But this looks like a really, really strong group, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they can do.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what they're going to come up with here. Looks like they're going with a very different strategy, so I'm excited to see what that turns out to look like.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. It looks like they're going with like a water beach theme. So I think that's definitely unique, very interesting. I'm excited to see. Their gingerbread house does not seem to be decorated yet, though. So I'm wondering what they're going to end up doing with that, how they're planning on decorating it, if they're wanting to do like a Christmas in July type of gingerbread house or whatnot. But definitely some strength. I do find it interesting that they're only using 2 of their tables, that they're not utilizing that extra space. But if they have a system that works for them, I think that's great.
Absolutely. Now let's send it over to Hank with a quick interview with a member of JP2.
I'm here with Lily of JP2 Community, and I'm looking at your board right now, and I'm thinking beach theme. Would this be correct?
That would be correct.
Awesome. Obviously, I'm sure you've heard there's been a lot of controversy in the league past years of, is the beach Christmas? Does it count? It's not a white Christmas, that's for sure. What do you have to say about that?
I think we're trying to take a little different spin on it because we think a lot of the other communities are going to do like Christmassy stuff. So we're doing a little, Mele Kaliki Maka Christmas. So we're still going to incorporate all the Christmas stuff, Santa, all that. It's going to be great.
Very interesting spin, and I like it. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Hank. You see JP2 Community working hard over there. Looks like they're using their pretzels right now in a unique sort of way. Look like they're trying to build little objects. Can't tell exactly what it is. Maybe sleds over there with the pretzels. That's a different sort of strategy right now than what we've seen a lot of the other communities use their pretzels for.
It could be making some beach chairs or something if they're going with the water theme or the ocean theme or something like that. If they're going beach, it could be some skis or some beach chairs or something like that as well. It's interesting because you've got to use if you're doing hot glue, you've got to give it time to dry. And so you've got to kind of get to that quickly and get your stuff put together and give that hot glue time to dry so that your structure is standing in the manner that you want it when the timer goes off, which is probably about 30 minutes left now.
Yeah, roughly 30 minutes left here, and that's definitely something to think about. You got to let a lot of this stuff dry and sit, and that's probably the hardest part about the 60-minute time allotment that these communities have is a lot of these items, it takes a while for them to sit and for the frosting or hot glue to set in before you can actually decorate around those areas. So I think that's maybe why the other community we saw decorating the outside of the gingerbread first before putting it on. That might be a good strategy given the amount of time these communities have.
Yeah, and it's crazy how quick the time is passing by. It does not feel like it's been 30 minutes, and I doubt these communities feel like it has been either. It definitely looks like there's still a ton of work that needs to be done as well. So seeing how these communities can wrap it up and how they react in a time crunch is definitely going to be interesting, and I think it could make or break a community in the way that they end up performing in this community competition.
Absolutely. Handling the pressure, really important. You're seeing one of those small objects right there that JP2 has been working on.
I want to say maybe I couldn't tell you.
Looks like a small child. As you see the timer right there, 28:37 and counting left. So we are in the final 30 minutes of this community competition. Like you're saying, Beatrice, I think as we get closer and closer to the end here, we're going to see the pressure really start to set in, a lot of panic, teams trying to maybe go a little faster, and that might mean that they're sacrificing a little bit more of the detail-orientedness that we've seen early on from a lot of these communities.
My favorite part about this whole thing, it might be the time that you look at, like what we just looked at there for JP2, and we have no idea what that was. But when they get done and the creation is done and it looks beautiful and it looks like something, we're like, oh my gosh, that's what that was at that time. And so that's one of my favorite parts about this is like we have no idea exactly what they're doing until they get done with it. And when that final product comes together, hopefully we'll be wowed.
Okay. Yeah.
We're going back to the Gregory community here. First community we started out talking with. They are about halfway through looking at that community again, looks like they've made a lot of progress since the last time we were with them. Looks like they're putting some green frosting on the outside of the gingerbread right now. I wonder what those licorice are doing there as well. Looks like maybe a mouth of a monster maybe.
Yeah, you see those candies as little eyes. I think that's definitely a different approach, but I think that could be in favor for them, for sure.
Yeah, you wonder how much, when they get done with the main structure, you wonder how much of the outside, the decoration from the outside, like you saw with JP2 with the paint, and just like creating foliage and all those kinds of things. You wonder how much that's going to make a difference in the judges, and you wonder how much the judges will look at just specifically looking at the structure and how great the structure is. I think every community is going to have a different idea when it comes to the decorations around the main decoration, and I think that will make this a whole lot more fun.
Yeah, and you see right there, gingerbread right in the middle, but tons of space around that gingerbread, so there's a lot of room for creativity there for these communities to use the many items they have to try to build something special out of that. Yeah. Now let's send it over to Hank.
I can confirm that it is a monster. Those licorice look to be a large tongue. It looks to be hungry as well. I'm interested to see what they do with the rest of this board and the rest of the space that they have and how they can utilize that to their advantage. Henry Overlease has just informed me that it is hungry for the victory. Back to you guys.
All right, so you heard it there. That is a monster's mouth that we're looking at right there. That's a different way to use the gingerbread. You talked about it earlier, Snell. Using a gingerbread kind of in the normal way probably isn't going to get you very far in this one, so I like to see the creativity that Gregory has. Turning the gingerbread house upside down and making a monster's face out of it is a very creative way to use the gingerbread structure.
I'm chuckling a little bit because I'm not going to call out any specific names, but I did see a few people eat a few pieces of the candy, and we'll see how that affects their final results.
Snow, how do you feel about the team dynamic over there? They seem to all be working together really, really well. Do you feel confident in the team that your community has chosen?
I feel really good about the team. I think we've got every class represented, and I think that we've got a strong leadership there. It looks like they have a vision, and they're doing a pretty good job so far of making it work. And so hopefully when it's all said and done, they've got a product that they're really proud of. But I think this group is a really dynamic group, and I'm excited to see how they finish this thing up. Like you guys said, they're one of the more unique ones so far. So we'll see what that does. We'll see how the judges look at that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now we're looking at the Teresa community, another pair of siblings there with Grace and Josh Kissel. What else are we seeing with that community?
Definitely seeing a lot of seniors, very senior-heavy team, but very, very different personality types. So I know there's a lot of creativity over there, a lot of leadership over there, and I really like the way they're split up right now. They seem to be making amazing progress on their board decorations, not so much the house itself, but I'm excited to see how they end up tying that into everything. And you see a lot at the other table, there's a lot of frosting going on, there's different colors being made. I'm really excited to see how they're utilizing all of that.
Look at the focus too. You can tell they're focused, you can tell they've got a plan. And now they've got 20-25 minutes to make it happen, and so they're really focused. They're working really hard. They're locked in.
Absolutely. Now let's send it over to Hank Schreiner with a quick interview.
Snell, I can confirm that people are eating the candy. As you said, it is a senior-heavy team, and that is going to be very interesting going into next year. It might have to be a rebuild year for Teresa, but this year could be their year, as they're going to go for it all and go for the championship, because what else would you go for? I'm here with San. Do you have anything to say about your latest creation?
I think it's really cute. I named it Jimbo.
Jimbo. Back to you guys.
All right, you see that little car looks like they're being built. You see a different sort of structure on the board as well. Looks like maybe a lake in the background there behind the gingerbread house. Gingerbread house placed in a different sort of location than we've seen. Most of the houses placed kind of closer to a corner, so that's another thing that's going to set Teresa community apart as they're building their gingerbread set here.
Yeah, and I think they definitely have done a really great job of putting their strengths, like putting people's strengths to a position. I see the people back there, they seem to be strong at frosting, and they're the ones frosting. Other people seem good at making different types of frostings and helping create, and I think the jobs are definitely distributed into people's strengths. I think that is going to get them far in this competition.
Yeah, utilizing people's strengths is going to be a big deal today.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're looking at Peter Community here. Very different structure they have built so far, looking back at Peter Community here. One of the younger communities we see represented here today. I think that could be something to watch for in the final 25 minutes or so here, as things are going to get a lot more pressure-packed as we head into the final minutes of this competition.
Maybe that's why senior captain Annie stepped in, because she saw the group was so young and she wanted to try to provide a little bit of leadership. Their specific item that they requested was almond bark. And so I want to see how they use that. Are they going to melt it? Are they going to? What are they going to do with that? How's that going to come into play? I really would like to see how everyone uses their guaranteed item. For the people that don't know, every group got one guaranteed item, and then they were able to create a wish list of items as well. And if you look down the list, man, they got a lot of the items checked off. And so if you eat, just because you got the guaranteed item, everyone got the same box, so everyone else got that item as well. But if you ask for something specific, then there's probably a reason that you wanted to utilize that, and I want to see what those reasons are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Could be interesting to see. Now let's send it over to Hank.
I'm here with Peter Community. As you're looking at this snow hill, it is just plain bad. Michael Jackson bad. This is looking really good. Sliding down the hill, it makes me want to participate in an awesome snow day. Just very nostalgic, and I don't see any gingerbread yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this could work out. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Hank. You're seeing a very different sort of structure there. Final 20 minutes here. You can see that clock dwindling down quickly here. Certainly feels like the time is going a lot faster than the 40 minutes that have gone by so far. You know, these communities definitely are going to be feeling the time crunch here in the final 20 minutes of this competition.
Yeah, I do like where they're going. It seems to look like a campfire, like a camp setup, which is really cool. I do find it interesting that they haven't, it's 20 minutes left and they have yet to build their house. So I think it's worrying me just a little bit. So I'm interested to see how it's going. It seems like they're going to go put it up right now, but to let that frosting and the hot glue dry and make sure that that building is fully stable, I think with such limited time, that could definitely be dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something a little different. We haven't seen much. That gingerbread house isn't really built yet, so that means they kind of got to get it right on this first try, or else they're going to be running out of time. You can hear the final 20 minutes here. Now we're taking a look at Catherine Community. Looks like they're starting to decorate their board a little bit over there, putting some frosting on in that back table over there. That's a thing we saw JP2 try to do as well, and now Catherine also using that blue frosting to paint on their board. That's another different sort of strategy that we've seen could pay off later in the long run in this one.
Yeah, and this team seems to be pretty young too. We have, it looks like, actually, I guess we do have like 4 seniors over here, with Alex Goff being the only male. He seems to be helping out over there with the actual building, so I'm wondering if he's more structurally like engineered, and I think that that's definitely very useful. I am shocked as well that they do not have their house fully set up, because in the beginning they seemed to have it pretty well, so I'm wondering if they had a difficulty over there. But on that board, their board is definitely looking similar to JP2's, with the blue theme with what seems to be a lot of like pretzels on the side, so I'm definitely interested to see the way that they go with that.
All right, now let's send it over to Hank Schreiner.
Here at Catherine Community, as you just saw, it looks to me as if they're doing a beach scene similar to that of JP2's. I'm wondering how that's going to work out for them, because JP2's whole idea of doing that was to try and be different and untraditional. So we'll see how that turns out and how that works out with the judges. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Hank. You're seeing that graham cracker and looks like the blue frosting structure right there getting built.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at this technique right here, building that initial layer on the board.
Yeah, it definitely looks a lot like JP2's from what we have seen, where there's that sand, that cracker sand with the water. So that seems super unintentional. They are on opposite sides of the room, so I'm definitely interested to see the difference of ways that they go with this, where their house is going to be, what's all going to be in the water. I think that there's a lot of freedom with this, and there can be lots of different ways that you can go, but I'm interested to see how closely it resembles JP2. And I think the spatulas to help smear the frosting is also really cool. I think that's probably smart. It's a pretty big surface, so you can move it around pretty easy. But, yeah.
All right, now we're looking at JP2, the other group doing that sort of beach theme, it looks like right now. Both very far apart from each other here, but similar ideas in their structure. Looks like they're a little bit farther along on the actual base right now, and it looks like they're about to put their gingerbread board onto the 2x3 plywood here.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, it seems that white baby-looking blob that we do not know what it was seems to be a Santa now laying down in the sand. So I think excellent job. Natalie Kearney worked really hard on that. You can definitely tell that was one of her strengths over there, is working with like a fondant dough. So I think that's definitely a benefit having Natalie on their team over there.
It's funny that the deans made a gingerbread house in a dean's meeting, and we took just 5 or 6 minutes to do it. And I was working with Mrs. Walters, and her immediate idea was, why don't we make a beach out of this? And so we crumbled up, and we made some sand, and we made a beach, and we made a shark in there, and all those things. And so it's kind of funny that the different groups are coming up with that idea as well. I wonder if that word got around, maybe that's what Mrs. Walters and myself were able to make on that day when the deans were making this. But these groups are doing a lot better than I did, for sure.
Yeah, you have to wonder with that blue frosting as well. That definitely could be a thing that you see the blue frosting, you think of the ocean right there. Now let's send it back over to Hank.
Now, Snell, I would not be surprised if that is what happened. They saw you and Mrs. Walters' creation and took after that. There are a lot of rookies in this league, and I think they're just looking to a veteran for some ideas and some experience. Obviously, they see your accolades and accomplishments and think, wow, he has it figured out. Let's do what he's doing. They're working busily now as the time ticks down, almost at 15 minutes here. And I'm excited to see what they come up with. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Hank. We're seeing final 15 minutes left here in this competition. You see the timer right there, 15:10 and counting. Community starting to really put this whole setup together, trying to get it all fit onto that board. Remember, they have to have everything onto that 2x3 piece of plywood there by the time the timer stops. So they have 15 minutes to get all of that assembled and onto the board, and you're definitely going to see that time crunch start to wear on some of these teams here.
Yeah, 15 minutes is not a lot of time, so I'm really interested to see what the communities are able to do and how quickly it's all going to come together.
I'm just checking the list here, and JP2 asked for pipette bags for icing. So I'm just wondering if that's working out for them, if that worked the best, or if they wonder if they wish they would have gotten something else, or what. I'll be interested to see what people say about that when it's all said and done.
Now we're looking at Benedict's community. Looks like they're all centered around that one table. You're seeing the design on the board there. Remember that log cabin sort of feel we got there, using the pretzels to decorate the outside of the gingerbread house. You see that right there. The little door as well is a nice touch right there. It looks like that's going to be a really sturdy sort of gingerbread house right there. That could be really beneficial to their community.
Yeah, definitely something we have not seen in other communities, and that shocks me because my initial thought when I have a ton of pretzels and a gingerbread house is to make it a log cabin. So I'm really shocked that they're the only community that went that direction. But I do think that is really, really good for Benedict, as it definitely draws them apart from the rest of the communities. And I think the way that they're going with this is really, really just great. Their teamwork seems to be just working so cohesively over there. And, yeah.
All right, now let's send it over to Hank for a quick interview with a member of Teresa.
I'm here with a very disheveled Sam Fangman. What's going on?
We can't find any hot glue.
This is not looking good. Things are heating up. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Hank, as we're looking back over at Benedict's community now. They're one of the few communities that looks like they've got their gingerbread house fully assembled, and now they're going back and starting to cover the surface of the plywood. Most communities started with the plywood and then went to the gingerbread house. A little bit of a different approach there from Benedict as well.
I'll go back to my theme of what I've said a couple of times here. Guess what their item was that they requested as their specific guaranteed item? Yep, thick pretzel rods.
Yep.
Makes sense. They had a vision already beforehand coming in, knowing what they wanted to do, and now they're trying to make that come to fruition there on their plywood. So, and they're doing a great job so far.
Yeah, and that goes us back to what you said earlier, where communities, they came with an idea, but they did not know what they were going to get. So definitely drawing an idea around what your guaranteed item is I definitely think a really, really smart thing for them to do, and it seems to be working in their favor.
All right, we're looking at Padre Pio community now. Looks like they're putting the finishing touches on their gingerbread house. One of the few communities we haven't seen decorate the plywood yet, with only about 12 minutes left here. They got to start working on that as well, but got to obviously make sure you have the foundation of the gingerbread house working well here. Looks like they're all centered around that one table, trying to get that gingerbread house as sturdy as possible. And now let's send it over to Hank.
As I'm looking at Padre Pio community, it is still the up house as we expected. They are all hands on deck right now trying to patch this outer work of the house together. I'm interested to see if they utilize the rest of the plywood given to them. I would also love to see maybe a rustle, but that's up to them. I'll send it back.
All right, final 11 minutes here left in this competition. Pio doing a nice job finishing up that gingerbread house structure over there.
11 minutes is not a lot of time. The time is quickly ticking down. Let's go back around with here. Such little time to decorate that board, I'm really curious to see how well they can decorate it, or if they have an idea that they know they can easily and quickly execute. Gianna Mola over there, you can definitely see that train coming out, and I think that it's a super cute idea with the crackers making a little train track, and I think it definitely also takes up a lot of space on the board, which I think will definitely help them.
They've got a ton of snow there as well. I'm not sure exactly what they've used there for the snow, but it looks really good from our view here. Again, the creativity piece, they're the only ones who have got a train. So just something to set yourself apart from everybody else, I think will be a big deal.
Yeah, and they've done a great job really utilizing all of their candies, using them not just as decorations, but also as parts of the train. That's a unique thing. We haven't seen a lot of communities really use the candies in that sort of way. You're seeing the hot glue gun right there, hoping to put on the final pieces of that gingerbread house as we're entering in on the last 10 minutes here. Now let's send it over to Hank.
10 minutes! 10 minutes left!
All right, thank you, Hank. Hank, reminding all these communities we have just 10 minutes left here. You're starting to see these communities work a little bit faster. Definitely the energy picking up in here in the final 10 minutes, knowing that you've only got 10 minutes to get everything assembled and onto that piece of plywood.
Yeah, and Gianna Mola's board, it's reminded me a lot of their hallway decorations of the Candyland theme, and I think it's probably smart of them to kind of go with using these different candies in all these different areas. And they've kind of had a little bit of work with that on what looks good with what, and kind of how to make it look like candy, and how to just make it look good. They're very creative in that aspect, and I think that's definitely working in their favor over there.
I'll tell you what, my heart jumped a little bit when Hank yelled 10 minutes there. I can only imagine the pressure that they're feeling right now of trying to put the finishing touches on. As fast as this first 50 minutes has gone, this last 10 minutes is going to fly by on these guys. So we'll see who can put the finishing touches on the best.
Absolutely. We're looking at Gregory community now. We're seeing the monster looks like it is fully built. Now they're trying to get some of the finishing touches on the plywood around it. Snell, how are you feeling about how Gregory community is doing right now? Looks like they're spelling out the Gregory name right there. That's a touch we haven't seen many of the other communities do. I
am a big fan of creativity, and I like the amount of creativity that they've taken here already, just an idea that no one else is thinking of. And I've said from the beginning, I thought that you had to find a way to make yourself stand apart. And so I think they've done a good job with using what they have there. I'd like to see how this thing finishes out, but I think that they're off to a good start.
Absolutely. Now let's send it down to Hank.
I'm here with Claire and Libby of Gregory community, some very standout players in this crew. I was just here to tell you that you guys need to pack your stuff and leave, because you should be working in the best restaurant in the world. Great job. Get back to work. We are running out of time. Back to you guys in the booth.
Snow, I find it really interesting that your community is one of the only ones who has gone with their community color theme, where they are really representing Gregory in this challenge instead of just going with your typical gingerbread house, the winter, or the beach theme. They're going a completely different route that's almost unrelated to Christmas, which I think is very, very different from the other ones. But how do you think that's going to play for you?
If I'm being honest with you, B, I think it's a risky move. I think it's worth the risk. I think, especially with this being the first year we're doing this, we don't know what the judges exactly are looking for, what their preferences are, and I think that they just thought that we could do something that stood out and was specific and very, very St. Gregory as a community that we're proud of, and we just want to represent it to the best of our ability, and I think that they're doing that right now.
Absolutely. We're looking back over at that structure. Looks like they've got a lot more of the frosting, it looks like, down on the plywood there as we're entering in on the final 6.5 minutes here. Finishing touches being put on. We're seeing parts of the side gingerbread houses being put onto the board as well. That's a different thing that we've seen some communities do. They have the one big structure, but then other smaller structures around it, and that's a unique way to fill that space.
Yeah, definitely. And I think water, too, has been a really good and big thing in all of these different communities. With that big of a board and that small of a house, you need to fill up that board with something instead of just snow. Add a little bit more dimension, a little bit more creativity into it. And I think a lot of communities have gone with that, with the water direction. And I think, honestly, it's been a great strength. It's definitely had a lot of different takes as like little ponds and lakes compared to like an ocean side.
Yeah.
So
we're seeing that little nativity scene there. I believe that's the first community we've seen do that. I like that as an idea of using the gingerbread pieces to get back to the Catholic roots there with the nativity scene as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That looked really good. It's interesting to see the different communities and how much decoration they're putting around their house. Like you said, B, you want to fill that big board. You've got a lot of space on there, and you don't want it to be very, very plain when the judges are looking at it. And so having as much as they can to fill that board, it could be a winning strategy.
Absolutely. Now let's send it down to Hank with a special guest.
I'm here with cocoa, gingerbread, and candy extraordinaire and expert. What are your thoughts on this competition? You heard it here first. Back to you guys in the booth. Nice job.
All right, thank you, Hank. We're in the final 5 minutes here of competition. Looks like every team so far has their gingerbread structure on the board, which is a good thing to see now, just putting the final finishing touches onto their boards. What do you think is kind of the biggest key in the final 5 minutes here? What do you want to really see as a community, your group want to do here, if you're one of these communities?
I think in the final 5 minutes, it should just be like finishing touches. You should be finishing up. You had that clock in front of you the whole entire time. You should have known time, like when you needed to get stuff done. I'm a little bit worried about Padre Pio over there. They still seem to not have anything down on their actual board, which is pretty worrisome to me. So I'm interested to see how they pull that off. And 4 minutes left of the competition, but definitely I think it should really be focused in on last-minute touches, final details that could just elevate your board all the more.
Yeah, and if it's me in that last 5 minutes, we're worried about two things. The decor, we want this to stand out. We want to put beauty on this through the eye of the people that are coming to watch it, and we're worried about stability. And those two things right there are going to be the finishing touches, like you said, B. Like that's the two things that I want to worry about. Is my structure going to stand up? And what can I put on there that's just going to be something that's pretty, that doesn't take a whole lot of structural changes and things like that in that last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
we're seeing a lot of those details as we're seeing the Padre Pio community. Still haven't done much on the board, but the gingerbread itself is looking really, really nice over there. You see the
3 minutes and 30
suckers
seconds
on top as well. That's something we haven't seen any of the communities do so far.
Yeah, they seem to have really, really gone with the frosting direction. Their whole entire thing is covered in frosting, which I think is super fun, super creative. And I love that.
All right, now let's send it over to Hank. He's with Catherine's community.
Earlier in this competition, the communities were spread out between their 3 tables, and now it is all hands on deck. Everyone around the same table in every one of these communities. Time is running out, and they are putting it together as fast as they can. Back to you guys.
All right, we're looking at Catherine community right now. Final 3 minutes left, 2:42 and counting on that clock.
I think their house looks super, super good. I think it's just like your classic gingerbread house with a mix of like the beach theme in the back. So I think that's really, really fun and creative. It kind of gives you the best of both worlds. But yeah, I think that the direction they've went, they're very definitely detail oriented, and their house displays that very well.
Yeah, and you're seeing those details get put on the past couple minutes there, like you were saying, Coach Snell. You know, the last few minutes here, you really want to focus on the stability, and you also want to focus on getting those last details hammered out, and you're seeing that right now with Catherine community.
Yeah, they've got to move these structures. They've got to go set them out on the table to present, and so you've got to make sure in this last 2 minutes your structure can be moved on your plywood and everything doesn't fall over, because that would be disastrous for you no matter how much work you did in that first 59 and a half minutes, and if you can't move the structure, it doesn't really matter.
That's something I think it's probably good for PO community with less stuff on the plywood itself, really just focusing on the gingerbread. You don't really have to worry about it falling apart as much, so I think that's something that probably is advantageous for their community as well. You see that beach structure again with the Catherine community looking really, really good right now for them over there.
Yeah, how much or how important do you think decorating that board really is when it comes to points in this competition? Do you think Padre Pio is going to be okay with just decorating their house, or do you think it was definitely vital to decorate the board as well?
Yeah, I think that the goal was to create a gingerbread creation and not just a gingerbread house. And so I think scenery has something to do with the whole creation as well. And so I think that will play a part. But they've got 48 seconds here. There's a lot they could add to that board here in the last 45 seconds.
Here we go. Absolutely. Again, a different sort of look here. We're seeing the boards heading out. Right now we're seeing Gregory community trying to move their boards. Looks like they've moved it about one table over so far. That is something you have to watch for. These communities could lose a lot of points here by just not moving that board well and seeing the structure fall apart. So you want to be super careful with that here at the end of this competition.
20 seconds remaining.
Communities that have a little bit more structure to it, like I know Catherine's, they had a whole entire walkway. And I know JP2 for a little bit was thinking about elevating their house even higher. And I think that would have been nearly impossible to transport.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands off!
All right, and we are done here. We are officially out of time. 1 hour has been complete, so hands off of the structures right now, and what every community has is what they're going to be stuck with for today.
Hi, how are you? Are you judging?
I was back there watching you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. On the broadcast?
Yeah, I was back in the
I'm interested to see it.
We'll have Pio. Why don't you guys go first? Your name.
Perfect.
Awesome. So Pio, transfer yours now.
Not associated.
Are you judging too?
Everyone else. Because I'm biased.
I know, right?
All right, so we're moving one by one here. The communities are moving their boards out. Pio is going first. Benedict will be moving next. The rest of the communities right now are tidying up their area. You see Pio being extra careful. Looks like they did add a little bit to the outside of the structure. That looks really good around the house there. So
I'll tell you what, no matter who wins this thing, this was awesome. It was fun to sit here and watch and see these creations happen.
Yeah, and the judging, it seems that every single community is labeled by a number. So no one really knows whose is whose except for maybe Gregory, who went all out on their community color. But yeah, so I think when it comes to judging, it's going to be pretty anonymous. So can't really be very biased in this competition.
absolutely, that's a good way for this community competition to be set up. Again, first time we're doing this competition. I think in the end here we've seen lots of different strategies. Really the only overlap being the two beach themes between JP2 and Catherine, but outside of that, very many different themes, which I think is something that the first couple of times we do this community competition here, I think it's going to be really fun to see the different creative takes on this right now. Now let's send it over to Hank.
I'm here with Teresa Community. What kind of commitment and things happened in this thing? How much did you give to this competition?
I give a lot. I just ruined a brand new pair of Uggs by dropping a big glob of icing on them. So if anyone has any tips on how to clean that up, please hit me up because I might cry.
That is not good, but that is the kind of emotion that comes about during a competition like this. Ellie Mers, what do you have to say on the aftermath?
I think we did an amazing job. I'm so proud of my fellow Teresians. So, yeah, I think we did an amazing job.
What about you, Savannah?
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of surprised at how much we got done in the time we had. But we did good.
That's awesome. Love to hear it. Back to you guys in the booth.
All right, thank you, Hank. We're seeing different communities transporting their boards right now. Gregory is out in the hall. Looks like JP2 is starting to move their beach theme as well. That came together really nicely. Looks like there's some nice palm trees over there as well. That's something a little different from what Catherine did with their beach theme as well, so that's something that'll distinguish JP2 a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely seem to have a strategy when it comes to transporting this. They're doing it really smoothly, and a lot of communities actually have. So I'm glad that it's not too difficult to transport over, because imagine you just drop it. That'd be literally heartbreaking.
That would certainly make this first one a lot more memorable, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're starting to see some former teachers come in. Looks like maybe they're going to be judges in this thing. And, yeah, we're fortunate to get some of them back in.
Absolutely, and that's a good way to kind of keep it objective, to get some people from outside the building that are still familiar with St. James helping us out here.
Yeah, I know Mrs. Walters tried very, very hard to get some outsider votes to make sure that everyone knew that this is a very unbiased competition and to really get a true winner in this.
All right, now let's send it down to Hank.
I'm here with some of the community captains, obviously some Gregory, Teresa, and Benedict. What are some of your thoughts over this competition and sitting back and seeing it from a bird's eye view?
I thought that this competition was very well thought out. I thought it was super fun. It seems so similar to an actual baking show.
What about you, Parker?
Love seeing the creativity out of everybody. A lot of different gingerbread houses. It was fun. It was cool.
He likes to juggle.
It made me very nervous not being able to help my team out, but I'm proud of the way that they came together and really made something really special.
How about you, Buddy the Elf?
It makes all the bakers that really don't get to show their talents at school, show their talents here. So I really like this competition.
Absolutely. Back to you guys in the booth.
All right, thank you, Hank. We're seeing the final communities transporting their stations out. Looks like Catherine is going to be the last one, taking out their 2x3 plywood there with the gingerbread structure on it. And now it's time to just clean up and hopefully get these things wrapped up here.
Yeah, everyone seems to be moving very, very diligently. It's really important that they transfer this over safely, because this is it. This is a community competition. It's all about the judging. And I'm really proud of every single community and how they came together, they did it, they finished off all their boards, and I'm really excited to see who wins.
Absolutely. These communities, I'm impressed. They did a really good job, I think, of staying calm. Every community. It didn't look like there were any crazy disputes or any big mistakes made by any of these communities. It looked like they all did a really good job working together, which is really hard in any context, but especially this being the first time we've done this. That is really, really difficult.
Theirs was really good.
Really impressed by all the teams that these communities put together and their ability to work together in this competition.
It looks like every community picked a crew that was able to be calm under the pressure and was able to handle the bright lights of this first situation. And everybody's got a product that looks good to me.
I haven't seen them.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to see who comes back on the baking decorating team next year, or if communities decide to go a completely different route and get completely new people in on this whole fiasco. But it was definitely very, very fun to watch, and I'm personally really pleased with the switch from Jordex to this. So
totally agree with you on that, and it almost sounded like you were committing to come back to commentate again next year. That's what it almost sounded like. I don't know.
No.
All right, now we're going to be looking at the gingerbreads going down the line one by one here. We're starting with Gregory. You see the Gregosaurus there. That looks really nice.
We have Gianna Mola right there with the Polar Express theme.
Do you want this?
There's that Padre Pio structure. Again, they did a nice job filling out the area around the board in the final couple minutes there.
I'll probably eat the leaves, though.
I believe that is Benedict, I want to say, with the log cabin.
They're one of those communities with the lake there.
Using the Swedish fish wisely.
I don't think
Then I believe
So many
that
people did
is Peter with the whole
You got-
entire
wait, did you guys
camp.
do beach
I think
too?
that's super, super cute.
Yeah, the Camp Rock theme there.
Catherine.
I believe that's
Oh, you're
Catherine,
Catherine.
one of our 2 communities with the beach structure there.
There were at least 2. There might have been 3.
And that is JP2. I really like what they did with the fish. Got them popping out. I think that's pretty cute.
A little who did it better with them right next to each other. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a direct comparison between those 2.
Those are awesome.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for watching this community competition today with us on the Thunder Broadcasting Network. Really proud of how all of these communities did, and a great first inaugural, great jamboree here between all these communities. I'd like to thank Beatrice Wiley and Coach Snell for sitting up here with me in the booth. My name is Will Nichols. Good night, Thunder Nation.
That was so hard.
The Great St. James Gingerbread Jamboree, starring St. Peter, St. Gregory, St. Giannamola, St. Catherine, St. Benedict, St. John Paul II, St. Padre Pio, St. Teresa, the Great St. James Gingerbread Jamboree.